Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jolera Interview Series. I'm your host, Paul Dunleavy-Bledsoe, the Chief Channel Business for Jolera. And again, welcoming back the founder of Jolera, Joseph Khunaysir. Now, in part one of our interview, we talked about the start of Jolera. And in this second part, we're going to talk about the expansion of Jolera. So again, Joe, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So in terms of expansion, when you look at Canadian companies, they tend to look inside their own borders, but not Jolera. You look to Portugal. So you took the path less taken, let's say. Mm-hmm. So what was the strategic thinking back then to expand to Portugal?
Many things. I think you're right. I mean, a lot of organizations within Canada and others, and a lot of our peers have gone across Canada, even down south first. At the time we looked at expansion, I think we were looking for many different areas and assets to help us. It wasn't just sales expansion that was our biggest driving, motivating factor. We were looking for areas of expertise, employment help, capacity help as a service-based organization. And we actually had an existing relationship with someone here that was part of a Portuguese entity that helped kind of introduce us to Portugal and introduce us to that organization. So for us, once we met the eventual Portuguese company that we invested in and kind of made Jolera today what it is, we loved the culture there, the people, the passion. They also have a very great diversity of skills and language that's available to us. And also, secondarily, something that a lot of people don't know, it's the time zone difference. It's an acceptable difference where you can use it as a North American-based organization kind of to your advantage in the sense that they're ahead enough where they're not so far ahead that you can't run normal day-to-day meetings with the organizations that are in our zone. Number one. Number two is it takes the pressure off our night shift work here. And that way it's kind of their day shift work there. So I found in from an operations perspective, from a capacity employment perspective, it made it a lot easier for us to kind of be able to perform the duties at different times of the day in different languages and different skill sets. And finally, I would say having geopolitical diversity is very critical. We go back to COVID. Yeah. And you look at during the COVID pandemic, and you remember how difficult some of the lockdowns were for us here in Ontario and Canada. Well, Portugal didn't have. It was almost like they were at different times in terms of their restrictions and lockdowns were offset from ours. Right. And so I would say if it wasn't for their office and some of their staff and some of their teams, we would have had a much more difficult time during the COVID era because they were still together, they were working together, they were able to take a lot of the load over Toronto and some of the other local North American places that we service out of here. So I would say, the expansion has worked out really, really well, and really happy to continuously invest there. And as you know, we're growing tremendously there in that office, in that location, that area. So it's been so far a win for us. And I think like any other organization, we definitely want to go. I know that you've interviewed some of my other colleagues and executives here about our down south plans, but so far the European one has been fantastic.
Yeah. So speaking of that, with the go-to-market strategy that Jolera has, right, in terms of that fixed cost as a service solution set that we're offering to MSPs, how do you think, in terms of the expansion push, how's that resonated in the marketplace so far in terms of what you've seen?
Whether you look at, everywhere you look today, there's a lot of monthly services, fixed pricing models that exist. I think the days of where we're kind of unique and we're the only one of the few that do it are done and finished. I think now what makes us different is that, and what we're trying to add to the unique is like, anybody can make a service and charge you monthly for it, but it's what's in the container and what are you packaging it at that tends to make it very attractive. And what you want to be able to do is offer as much value as you can for the dollar that's being purchased or spent. And so that's the same language in any global, in any geo or global situation in any country. Right. And so everyone's looking for more for less or less out of more, or whatever phrase.
Value for the dollar.
Yeah, value for the dollar, value for the euro, right? Yeah, so for us, what we wanted to do is for us, what we want to do is take that same model that we built here, expand it into Europe, expand it down south to the US, and be able to kind of collectively over time refine it add services, add the menu, make the menu larger, and grow the partner base. That's really the same. That's the same strategy we've had for the last 8 to 10 years. We want to continue to grow that strategy into Europe and down south into the US.
So, Joe, definitely after 2 decades, very unique journey that Jolera has been on. How would you sum it all up, and if you had to, in a few words?
Roller coaster. There has been a lot of great moments. From the office was in my parents' basement for years, and then from there, we moved out of there and we moved into a real office. And obviously my partner Alex and I, we've had a great journey together, and then adding some of the key executives that have changed the face of the business forever. And then from there, you look at the management and directorship leadership. I would say it's been a roller coaster ride, but I will say one thing that I think any leader will say about any business: there's only so much as I can do, or any one person can do anymore. I really feel that it's at one point you feel like you're the wheel, but now I'm really a very small, tiny cog in a very much bigger, larger wheel. And that's cool to see running and operating on its own.
Right.
It's cool to see the successes. It's cool to see people's passion and vision. And that's what makes it a fun roller coaster ride, is that you're on. I used to say, I'll sum it up by saying this analogy. At the beginning, you're at the front of the roller coaster, and you're kind of just strapped in, holding for dear life, and it's kind of taking you. Now you're at the back. And you're looking out, and now everyone else is taking you, and you're kind of just holding on for dear life either way. So it's just different vantage views. Now you just see it from a different perspective. So it's been a great ride, and I hope for many years to go. And I'm having a great time, and I feel great about the team and the organization, and I'm really excited.
Well, Joe, like most roller coasters, they're a lot of fun, right?
Yeah,
so definitely a fun ride and really interesting journey that you started here back in 2001 from Jolera. Well, congratulations, and thank you very much for your time and being on part of the Jolera Interview Series.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
No worries. So that's it for me, Paul Dunley-Bledder, for the Jolera Interview Series. Again, thanks for watching.